everything right, it was you and me.
Hello everyone, my name is Nayeema and welcome back to my channel. And today we have a super exciting video, and that is Mafia romance recommendations. When I first started my channel, I was not a big Mafia romance lover. I barely read any. I think the only Mafia romance that I had read was the Born in Blood Chronicles. But in 2021, I really started to get into Mafia romances, and I can safely say that it is one of my favorite genres. And I realized I never did a Mafia romance recommendation video, so I thought today would be the perfect day to do so. A lot of these are super popular, and I feel like some of them I haven't seen that many people talk about. So either way, I hope you can find a new book or a series to add to your TBR. Mafia has truly become one of my favorites, so I thought I'd let you guys know about some of my favorite books. And yeah, without further ado, let's get right into today's video. Also, my friend Heather from Here Booktubes just filmed this video and uploaded it. I'm gonna have the link to her video down below in the description box. Please check her out. She's one of my favorite booktubers. I'm always getting such amazing recs from her, and she really inspired this video, so go check her out. So the first series that I'm going to recommend is one of my favorites. I know so many of you guys have read these books and love these books. I love these books with my entire heart. They mean so much to me. I can safely say that they've become one of my favorite series ever. This is written by one of my new favorite authors, and that is the Kingmakers series by Sophie Lark. Basically, the Kingmakers series is kind of like a spin-off from the Brutal Birthright series by Sophie Lark that follows their parents. And I do love the Brutal Birthright series. That is all Mafia romances. I do recommend the Kingmaker series more, although I feel like you should read at least Brutal Prince from the first series to understand a little bit of what's going on in Kingmakers. It's not really necessary. You get the gist really fast, and tons of people have come to me telling me that they've only read Kingmakers and they loved it. So you really don't need to read Brutal Birthright. I do recommend it because they're amazing, but Kingmakers is where my heart is at. Kingmakers is like a brutal mafia school. It's children of mafia bosses. They are the kids from the characters in the first book. All these kids basically decide they want to go off to Kingmakers, and Kingmakers is basically like a college. It's a 4-year school where you live there. Big, dark, mysterious castle. It is not all rainbows and sunshine and fun college experiences. There's this rule of recompense, and it's basically whatever you do to someone, they do it to you. The classes are incredibly hard. 4 divisions, and you have like the air division, and that's basically you are ruling your family's mafia. The spy, which is like obviously like you're a spy in the mafia. I think there's like an accountant and something else. 4 divisions, and basically each of the students fits into the divisions. And each of the books follow 2 different characters. The first one follows Leo and Anna, and this is child best friends to lovers. They're raised as cousins. They're not blood related, and it is so good. It's mutual pining. This one is just magic. I love this one. I still to this day, it's hard. Like I feel like that one's my favorite, but I don't know. I go back and forth a lot. The second one follows Miles and Zoe, and Miles is the school bad boy. He's always getting into trouble, and Zoe is kind of like a little bit of a good girl, I'd say. Not completely. She definitely has some edge to her, but she is pretty much a good girl, and she is promised off to this guy named Rocco, who is not a good person at all. Miles kind of sees this relationship between Zoe and Rocco, and he does not like it. So it's a forbidden romance, and it is amazing. This one just made me sob like no other. It was a really, really good book. So highly recommend, especially if you like forbidden romances. And then the third one follows Kat and Dean, and this one follows actually Zoe's younger sister from the second book, and Dean, who is mentioned a lot and seen a lot in the first book. And this is a bully romance with tons of grovel, so if you like that, I know so many of you guys would love that one. And then the fourth one, I actually can't tell you guys who it is about because it is a huge spoiler to the whole entire series. But I was shocked when I found out. This one, I think I read it in like a day. It was just so good, and I could not stop reading it. So highly recommend. And then Sophie Lark actually just came out with a 5th book, and that is The Savage. And this one doesn't take place at Kingmakers. It's 2 people who kind of met on this big journey / rescue mission, and it's great. I loved it so much. It's still Mafia. It just doesn't take place at the Kingmakers University. So yeah, that is the Kingmaker series. I highly recommend, especially if you just love atmospheric books. Like I said, it takes place at this castle. It is just so dark and gloomy. Sophie Lark took a lot of inspiration from Hogwarts. I just feel like so many of you guys would love it if you haven't read it already. It is so good, and each book is so incredibly different. The next book that I'm going to recommend is Sparrow by L.J. Shen, and you guys know that I don't like to recommend L.J. Shen's books that often, but I feel like this was actually the first Mafia romance that I've ever read, and I loved it so much, and I feel like so many of you guys would like it too. It's an arranged marriage between this girl who never really saw herself as beautiful. She kind of views herself as the ugly duckling. She does not like her body, she does not like her face, she does not like her hair, and she has to basically marry Boston's fixer. Troy Brennan is somebody who comes in and fixes problems for the Mafia. He's a part of the Mafia. I wouldn't say that he's like a Mafia boss, but he is involved, and he has to clean and he has to fix people's messes and basically clean up murders, and he is top man in Boston. Basically, she has to marry him, and she doesn't really know why she has to marry him. Her father worked under Troy, and basically he agreed to have Sparrow marry Troy. And she, like I said, she doesn't really like herself, so she's confused as to why Troy would want her, especially because she is not his typical type. Troy sooner or later realizes that there is more to Sparrow that meets the eye. I really love this book because it's so fun to see the way Troy's view of Sparrow changed, especially when he saw her like in her element. Sparrow loves to cook, and he gets her a job working at his restaurant, and it is so good him watching her. Like, there's just little moments like that where it is just chef's kiss, so amazing. I love watching the big bad Mafia boss just realize that he is in love, and this one is a great one to do that. These two are both really well developed characters, and I highly recommend Sparrow. I feel like this one will always be one of my favorite L.J. Shen books. What I also love about this book is that it was not really insta lust, it wasn't insta love. It really took some time for them to both let their guards down and just let themselves fall, which is always great to see. Their connection really gradually progressed throughout the story. By far one of my favorites, and yeah. The next book that I'm going to recommend is Run Posey Run by Kate C. Wells. I read this book and fell in love. It has all of the things I love: stalker, hero, Mafia, kind of like sociopath or psychopath, not really sure, but it was great. It was so good. I know a lot of you guys like stalker romances and sociopaths, so this one is where it is at. Basically, it follows this girl named Posey. Posey is dating this Mafia boss named Dario, and Dario is kind of just like a cold person, but Posey really is in love with him. Like, she just is so happy being with him. She loves him a lot, even though he's kind of like indifferent. You can tell that he cares about her, but not really. Like, he's kind of indifferent. She's in love and he's indifferent. He doesn't really care, but like a Mafia boss, he feels like he owns her, he feels like she's his, so he does have some type of possession towards her. And one day Dario is sent a video of Posey actually having sexual relations with another guy. Dario sees this and he is livid. He is so pissed. He wants something to do with Posey. He wants her gone, and like I said, because he feels like he owns her. He doesn't realize that he made a huge mistake, and that video is actually incredibly old. She didn't cheat on him, she didn't betray him. It is an old video, and while she tries to explain this to him, he kind of just is not, he's not listening to her. He doesn't care. Like, he doesn't care. He just is like done with her. After Dario sends her away, Posey doesn't have the protection of Dario anymore. She used to be protected by him, but she's not anymore, obviously, because he sent her away. She has to leave town very fast. She has to get out of there because people are now coming after her now that she doesn't have his protection. She is completely heartbroken by this. She loved him. She really did. While she's on the run, she can't resist taunting him, like sending him different pictures and videos and like texting him. He wants nothing more than to get her back. He realizes he made a huge mistake and he wants her back. So he stalks the living daylights out of her. He stalks her, he hunts her down, tracks her down, and tries to get her back. When he finally does get her back, he realizes that she is not the same person that she used to be. She's really closed off now. She isn't the same type of happy person, and he's really just trying to figure out how to get her to be the same person that she used to be. And while she's kind of like closed off and reserved, she's realizing that Dario wasn't who she thought he was either. Like, he was great and he protected her and he made her feel safe, but she's realizing that he'd never actually loved her. So that is a huge thing. They really had to work through their issues. It is so good. He is such like an alpha hero. He is possessive. He stalks her. It is just everything that I love, and you really have to see like a sociopath battle with what they are feeling, and it is great. It is so good. I love sociopaths. I love psychopaths. What can I say? This one is really good, and I highly recommend. The next book that I'm going to recommend is The Predator by 𝓲𝓸𝓬𝓲𝓪. I love this series. It's the 𝓵𝓸𝓬 series, and it has become one of my favorites, but I'm specifically going to talk about The Predator. The first 2 books follow Tristan and Moreno, and then the next one follows Dante and his love interest, and it is so good. 4th book just came out as well. It is just such a great series, and I feel like if you like Mafia, you will love this. So Morena ended up dating this guy, and while she was dating this random guy, I don't even remember his name, he's not that significant, he ended up stealing codes from her, and she's this really good programmer, she's good with computers, and he ended up stealing some very important codes from her. Like, these type of codes could create wars, and it's just really bad if these codes get out there. So Morena and her boyfriend have since broke up, but she thinks that he took those codes and gave it to the enemy. So one night Morena sneaks into the enemy's home and tries to threaten him and tries to kill him, and she's like, listen, I need those codes back right now. Obviously he fights back, and he is not happy with this enemy sneaking into his house and trying to kill him. And he's like, listen, I don't have your codes, but I am going to help you find them because I don't want these codes getting out there either. So it is Tristan and his best friend, and these two are helping Morena get back the codes, and these two are also like the bosses of their family's mafia, and they are working together in secret with Morena to get back these codes. Morena also has to keep it a secret from her father because obviously she's working with the enemy, and obviously her father cannot know that she is working with the enemy. It's just like a hot big mess. Morena also doesn't have a good relationship with her father, so lots of secrets here. And romance ensues between Morena and Tristan. There is so much tension between them. It is so much fun. They have just like there's boiling chemistry, and something had to happen about it. Tristan is like this big like alpha. He's super alpha and super cold, and he shows 0 emotions. He is by far one of my favorite book boyfriends ever. So much fun to just see him soften and completely fall in love. It was such a good book. This series is amazing. I still think about the smut scenes in here all the time. Like, they are great. They are so good. This is by far one of my favorite Mafia romances. This whole entire series is just like so good. I highly recommend this entire series, especially if you love Mafia, especially if you like a cold, just like mean, not a nice hero who just completely changes under our eyes, but with some convincing, and just like a badass heroine is always so much fun to read about. Like, she really snuck into this man's house, threatening him, like threatening his life for these codes back. She's just such a badass with everything that she does, and I really loved reading about her as well. So that was the last book that I'm going to recommend for today's video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to leave a big like and a comment down below, and as always, I can film a part 2 to Mafia romances. I love Mafia romances, and also let me know some of your favorite Mafia romances down below in the comments. I would love to check them out. And add more to my TBR. I feel like I've read a good amount of Mafia romances, but I'm always on the hunt for more. So definitely let me know some of your favorites. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I will see you very shortly with the new one. Bye.
If I got one thing right, it was you and me.